Welcome, everyone, to episode 167 of Just Joshing. I am your host, Joshua Pentellaresco. I write stuff and podcast too. And yeah, today, my guess is this is the start of a two-parter. And man, we have a hell of a conversation. Kevin Weir, who just released his book, Endless Hunger. I'm proud of the dude. He's done very well for himself. He's gotten into Edge, and his story behind how he got in is really, really cool. And I can't wait to tell it. Might be part two, might be part one. Part one's definitely, we talk about comedy, show business. We both have a certain love for that, and it definitely shows. But before we get to Kevin, we have to talk about what's going on next week. We are exactly 1 week away from Sweet and Sultry Summer, courtesy by the great host, the lovely, sexy, beautiful, talented M. Jane Collette. She's definitely pulling out all the stops here. I will be doing my podcast from 12 to 4. I will be there all day. I'm going to talk about a couple people I'm interviewing today. First one is Danielle French. Danielle is an amazing singer. I was actually watching some of her YouTube videos. Very, very talented singer. She's doing very well for herself. She's currently in the band Miss Scarlet and the Madmen. Their current release is Dark Love Songs. I'm going to be talking to her about music, sensuality, heartbreak, love, which would be really, really cool. And then somebody else I'm going to be talking to, and I'm really looking forward to this one actually, is Win Day. Win Day is an engineer, a writer, a designer, and just an all-around badass. Her first novel was On a Whim, and she's been writing ever since. And she does WordPress stuff currently, and she does fiction. It's actually really, really cool. I'm looking forward to having that conversation. I get the feeling that one's going to be a bit short for what I'd like, but that's because, she's awesome. So I'm looking forward to it. There's them and many more. June 24th, 12 p.m., Eau Claire Market, Sweet and Sultry Summer. It's a romance writers festival. Come on out, have a good time. All right, let's get to our conversation with Kevin Weir. I'm turning this on, by the way, just so you know. Nothing sorry about. There's nothing to be sorry about. Typically Canadian response. I'm turning on. Sorry.
I guess here's a good question that I should ask before we do this. What level of cursing do you allow?
And racial's my line.
I'm not gonna drop a mad racial slur.
So I'm just do you want to know what my line is? That's my line.
No, that's fair.
Yeah, that's my line.
That's fair. I'm a little bit insulted. You thought I would just
No. I think not. No, legitimately, I think nothing. What it is. My father was a truck driver. My grandmother, bless her heart, swears in Maltese in a way that would probably make you turn the shade of red. Yeah. And so cursing to me doesn't really bother me very much. But, and even and like I said, I grew up in some really rough areas, so even some of that stuff. But the thing is, my listeners I've had people from literally every kind of walk of life you can imagine, and I try to respect that. And
I always grew up believing that a curse word should be an impact moment. I don't like I guess might be the word. I don't like the people who just throw all the
random F-bombs.
Yeah, they're just like in the middle of a sentence, and you're like, wait, what just happened? Are you mad at me?
It depends. It depends on the person. Like I swear, personally, just off. But the reason is there's a certain. I'm very in your face, and I'm pretty real.
Yeah.
And so when I'm swearing, it just I could be more how to put this, loquacious or more immaculate.
That's a fancy word you threw in there.
Yeah. I actually, my vocabulary is extensive, but I tend to find that for most people, right? It's about conveying the message as clearly as possible, and there is something I will admit oddly satisfying about a curse once in a while.
I think if people don't normally hear you curse, and then in pure rage and holy might, I guess, you just drop an F-bomb on them, they stop what they're doing and they're like, okay, this just got real. I understand your emotions now.
And for some people it's like that. For some people though, it's I work in a factory. My day job is I work in a factory. Like there's no clergymen there, and they're just not. So I have a certain, and also sometimes it depends on your audience too. Like some people only respond when you swear like a sailor to them.
Yeah.
Some of them only they'll be like, oh, that's nice and flowery. Move your fucking ass. Yes, I will do that now. All right.
I found that more often than not, the times that I will curse, I will swear when I am injured, like just offhandedly.
Oh, yeah.
I will just mutter to myself, and it's usually just like fuck.
Yes, that's normal.
But then the other time that I curse, because I don't like cursing in casual conversation, is I use curse as comedy. I like swearing when it's fucking funny.
You know what? That works too. But I just feel like it's comfortable. I don't personally. I like whatever. Like my goal. You listen to my podcast?
Yeah.
They're all.
I mean, there's a lot of it, so not all of it. But
the thing about them all is the biggest and the only thing I really require from people is be themselves. And while how you want to be presented, that's how I present you. Like I said, but you got some tough competition because today, like I said, she might be better than us, man. 10 years old, already published.
Can we talk about that you interviewed a 10-year-old today?
Yeah, we can do that.
Did she curse?
No.
Damn.
Craig was in the room.
Ooh.
So and also, but honestly, I'm not gonna lie. Probably one of my favorite interviews I've ever done. It was a little different than what I normally do because I'm not gonna ask like the big like questions to a 10-year-old. They're not old enough to quite get there, but.
Tell me, what do you think happens after you die?
Yeah, exactly.
10-year-old child.
Then she answers it better than you did, and you're like,
damn it.
Yeah. You're like,
you did it. You proved it. I'm proud of you.
I'm proud of you. Now I need to go to a church. and that's no, honestly super adorable. I was really, I mean, to be honest with you, I'm kudos to Craig. He trusts me, and that's no, I mean, I met his kids. I mean, he trusts me, and she's gonna be, man. If she keeps it up, I mean, she's got a book on her belt at 10 years old. I mean, seriously, that there's no way around that. It's impressive.
I can't even remember when I was 10 years old, but I can remember a lot of things. So
yeah. So you, my friend.
Yeah.
So. Do I dare ask how old you are now? Publishing your first major novel?
I'm 26.
You're 26.
Yeah, I'm proudly 26.
That's right.
Last year I was proudly 25.
That's right. Guess how old I am?
26.
I wish.
Oh.
36.
I was within a differential 10.
So I'll take it.
I'll take it because it's a victory for me.
Yes. Yes.
That's what you gotta do. You gotta choose your own victories whenever you're wrong.
So it's all good, man. So let's see. How do we want to begin this? You, my friend. So what came first to you? Like, obviously, you've been doing podcasts for a long time.
Yeah.
So for you, when did storytelling become such a big part of your life?
It's very weird. I think it's been around in my life for a lot longer than I realized it did, and I think I always misunderstood like what it was that I liked about it. I looking back now, I remember when I was in grade 1, grade 2, we used to have this thing where you would have to like write a story effectively. You'd have to write a story. It was, I don't know why I say you have a thing. You had to write a story. But for some reason, I don't know if it's because my memory's hazy, you had to start out by drawing a comic for it. And for a long time, I just liked drawing the comic version of it. So I just moved a lot of my stuff from one house to a new house. I say just moved. That was 3 years ago, but time's a flat circle, whatever.
Whatever.
And I looked at a lot of the old stuff that I had, and I found a lot of these old like just comics I drew of like adventures and things like that, and that was what I did. And I think at the time I was just like, oh, I just like drawing things. Spoiler alert, I am 26 now. I do not like drawing things. I am so bad at it. I'm really bad at drawing things.
It's funny. I'm so bad at it. I mean, I'm making a comic book about how bad at it I am.
Yeah.
So mine is, I joked I draw stick figures so badly that they revolt, and that's literally the story. It's the stick figure revolution, and that's the other thing I'm working on. I found it when I was in Burnaby.
Yeah.
I found an editor that was brave enough to go, I might edit this for you, and I'm like, oh god, so now I've actually felt this like increased bit of pressure because I'm like, okay, I gotta get this done within the next couple weeks.
Have you ever heard of One Punch Man?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's written by, or drawn and written by, originally by a manga artist called One, who is not a good artist, but his stories are cool. So what happened, for people out there, I guess, who don't know who he is, he did this comic called One Punch Man and Mob Psycho 100, and if you read the original comics, they're not drawn well. They're very much like, little weird, like scratchy drawings. But it got popular enough that this really, really good artist essentially saw his stuff and was like, I like this. And then he redrew it using good artwork, I guess. But he still used the character designs.
Yes.
From when One was drawing it. So you have, it's like one of the first, I think, like monsters you see is like this guy wearing like heart underwear and like hairy legs, but like a muscly crab body. And I'm like, that is
awesome.
And it perfectly reminds me of when people would do like, here's a child drawing drawn by like a professional artist. And I love those for some reason. I don't know why.
Well, actually, it's cool to say this. I've actually had this conversation last little bit.
Yeah.
It's interesting because no matter how good an artist you are, you cannot duplicate the heart and intent a 5-year-old puts into their drawing.
Yeah.
You can't do it. But you I mean, technically you can go leaps and bounds.
Yeah.
But that heart isn't there. It's really, really hard. Like when I draw a stick figure now, it's kind of like I can't do it because my heart's not in it. It's not me.
Yeah.
Like I just think art in general is at its best when the intentions are like more than the technique. It's the intention in the piece.
That's like, so I mean, I started this out by saying that I'm not very good at drawing and I don't like to draw. And really more of what stops me from drawing is the second part. That I sometimes go in and I try like drawing something out again and I'm like, I don't really enjoy this. But there's a lot of people out there who also are bad at art, but if they keep trying, they will get better at it. And that's the point, is that they have the heart in it and they want to get better at it, they will get better at it. I don't really want to get better at it, so I will never get better at it.
And that's fair, right? I mean, and it's not for you. It's for somebody else, and that somebody else, I mean, might be Riley Rossman or somebody relatively well known. So but we all have that. So going back to what we were talking about at the beginning, you were saying what you thought it was. So you thought it was going to like comics? Is that kind of thing?
I for a while I thought it was just like, I just like drawing stuff. And then for a long time I would, when I was going through school, I would like hang out with my friends and we'd go out to like the corner of the yard and we'd, or essentially role play like, story to find each other. Essentially what we were doing was improv. We didn't have a name for it, but we effectively were just doing long form improv. Mm-hmm. Because that's the kind of kids we were. And that was once again me thinking like, oh, I like this. Maybe I want to be an actor. And then I still like acting. I've done acting before. You can catch me on. I'm in the first episode of season 3 of Hell on Wheels.
Nice.
You can see me. That is not my voice though. So for anyone who's listening to this who's never seen me, you will not know who I am.
So legitimately, that must have sucked for like union dues, because usually they pay. I know the guilds. If you say X amount of words on.
Well, no, I still said it. Like essentially.
Okay.
Essentially, I went in and I did the scene. I did a scene with Common, and I did the whole bit, did the whole scene. I actually did 2 different scenes. Then they brought me in and they made me do ADR. Do you know what ADR is?
No, I do not.
Oh god, I can't remember. It's additional dialogue replacement.
Okay.
I might be the acronym. Don't get mad at me, film people. I honestly, I've done ADR on both sides before, but apparently I forgot about it. But yeah, so I had to go and do ADR, so which is where I was standing there, I had headphones on, microphone in front of my mouth, and there was a scene I was in, and I had to try to say the lines again, matching up my own mouth.
Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen that with music videos. They do a lot of that actually.
Well, I think the most famous ones, if you guys have seen that one of Hugh Jackman doing the thing for Logan where he's running in the room, that's ADR. So I went in and I did that. I did my lines, and they're like, "All right, we want this." And like, give me like a stronger voice, like be a little bit more tough, but also be a little bit more like, "Oh, it's my job." Essentially, I was kicking Common off the train because it's the Old West and he's black, and it was very bad back then.
Yes.
But then I did that more and more, and I was like, I got the line, and then they let me go, and then eventually it came out, and I watch it, and the voice was a little bit more of like a, "Well, howdy there, young man," and I'm like, I mean, I could have done that voice if you wanted that voice, but sure, I guess that's not my voice anymore.
But you're like, they
still pay me for it.
It's like I'm paid. I don't care. Whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. I've gotten very close to many good roles that have been like, well, you still paid me, I guess.
Well, I mean, there's only what you can control at the end of the day, right? And I mean, I'm sure one day when you have your big monster movie debut, either in front of the camera or behind the camera, you're gonna be like, I have a lot more control over this. This is how it's gonna be. Yeah. But I think everybody kind of goes through that point where they're paying their dues, and at the end of the day, you're like, did it take care of me? Sure. Did I get paid? Yeah.
Yeah.
And really, that's it. Will they use me again? Probably.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I was almost on Fargo twice.
Nice.
Yeah, the TV series, not the movie from the 90s.
You would be a very, very, very young guy. You're like child actor debut, and then you'd have your own Disney drug problems.
Oh yeah, that'd be fun.
Yes.
Everybody loves Disney drug problems except for Disney.
Yes.
Where they're like, no, Disney kids are all right.
Disney kids are way all right. Well,
I mean, what is it? Man, I can't remember his name. Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. One of those two. He's on Riverdale, and the other guy's got long hair.
It's good.
Yeah, it's good. They're doing good. They're doing fine.
That's okay.
Those Sweet Life kids are doing fine, and that is all. That's what I think before I go to bed. I'm like, hey, how are the Sweet Life kids doing? They're doing fine. Good. And then I can sleep at night.
That is oddly terrible.
That's all I think. Yes. No, it's called having a low bar.
Yes. No, it's still oddly terrible.
The world is slowly sliding into the pit of hell. You got to have a low bar and being like, are the kids from Sweet Life of Zack and Cody doing okay?
Well, yeah, I gave up the concept of normal when I came back to Calgary. Actually, I was in a Mormon community for 2 years, and after, for me personally, it was just when I came back, it was like, you know what, I don't really know what works.
Yeah,
I just don't know, and you know what, there is a God. He can figure it out. I'm just here to do whatever I'm supposed to do, and the rest can just take care of itself.
Yeah, and that is a good way to do religion.
Yeah,
it's a good way to do it is to be like, look, stuff will happen. I'll do my best to make sure it's better, but like.
Well, I mean, honestly, if most people have a religious bent, here's the thing, right? If I had been like I was 10 years ago, I couldn't do this podcast. Yeah, I just couldn't, because I would have had standards, and I have met so many.
Would have had standards.
I would. No. I mean, but
that's what I say on my podcast, the silly one where we do dick jokes.
Exactly.
You're like, I could have done this if I had standards. I wouldn't have done this.
I would have had.
Sorry, I know what you mean.
Yeah, I would have had. So I'm going to correct this to my audience, and also because I've had people on the guest, they might just think I'm picking on them. No, I'm not picking on you.
No.
But I would have had a certain expectations of how people were.
Yeah, instead of letting them be themselves.
Yeah, exactly. And and now it's great because I get to meet all kinds of people, and doing all kinds of amazing things.
And people.
Yeah.
People. They don't even realize it. They like people better who are themselves.
Yeah.
Like, going back to acting for a second, acting is pretending to be someone else.
Yes.
But people don't like people who pretend to be someone else.
No.
So much of acting is being able to find yourself in that person, which that doesn't mean there are certain actors who are method actors, who are like, I'm going to turn myself into this person. And I personally don't like that. I think it's very unhealthy for the actor. I think it's very unhealthy for the industry.
It's also unhealthy for the crew members involved. It's not good.
I think it's really, I don't think that's how an actor should act. And I don't think we should give, don't think we should put people up on podiums because like, oh, they got so into the role, they were an asshole to everyone. I'm like, well, then they're an asshole. That's them being an asshole.
I think part of that though is just there's an admiration to some degree for obsession, and I think I can respect someone that wants to be really committed to something, and they're in that sense I think people can respect it. I think where the line is, look, at the end of the day when the cameras are off, right? You're a human being. I'm a human being. Let's just do our thing.
The good actors, so actors I actually like, respect, and actually like, are the actors who can play a role, then the scene ends, and they're out of it immediately, and they're like they can drop in and out like that. What I think that is a talented actor.
Yeah.
Someone who can get into the role and be there and like do a really really good job as that role while they're living the role. And then leave it when they're done. Like that is how you are a good actor.
That's a very professional actor. Like actually, it's a true pro because a pro is like, you know what, this is what I need to do. This is my job. I'm doing my job.
Yeah.
I'm doing it to the very best of my abilities. And then at the end of the day, when the cameras are off, okay, let's do the important stuff.
I mean, let's to put it in a different light. Imagine we're not talking about actors. Imagine we're talking about, I don't know, Subway sandwich artists. If you were a Subway sandwich artist who was so intense about Subway sandwich art that you started shouting at people and being an asshole to people and degrading people because you gotta do your Subway sandwich art, you would look at that person and be like, a maestro. No, you'd be like, that sandwich maker's an asshole.
I might punch him. In fact, that might actually happen.
Yeah.
I have a funny story, so my first night once upon a time I was working as a gas station job.
All right.
A coworker came in.
Yeah.
And this truck driver came in. I messed up. I totally messed up.
Yeah.
And he was mad. He was a little hot. But not like
coming in hot.
Like, he came in a little hot, but again, it just get him a drink. So I'm sorry. Blah blah. Yeah. I said sorry. My coworker decided to egg him on.
Oh God.
And then I'm like, I looked at him and like, what are you doing? Shut up. And then
I got nothing to live for. I work at a truck stop.
Yeah. No.
Sorry, that's bad for people who work at truck stops. You got plenty to live for. You're doing a good job. You're doing God's work.
Oh God.
Okay, look, when you're driving for like 8, 10, 12 hours in a row, the people you meet at a truck stop who are helping you, that is your savior.
No. Sometimes it depends on where you go.
Okay, sorry, keep going.
Yeah. Oh man.
I just wanted to make sure people who work at truck stops do not think I'm insulting them.
No. So the truck looks. So you want to make something of this? Yeah. So the guy, so my coworker, and I'm gonna just say it outright, was a candy ass, right? Yeah. Just tell like just
get one.
So he made it to me.
Sorry, keep going, and I'll say my thing after you.
Yeah. So he makes another flip comment. So go. You want to step aside? He looks at me. He's like, "What are you looking at me for? You pick the spot. I'm gonna let you go outside. I'll call the cops after he's done pounding you." I'm not getting in on this. I was perfectly content to let him blow his. Like he was justifiably a little upset. Maybe he was a little over it. But I mean,
like there's. I don't think there's any justification for being upset as people who are in the service industry because like. They're trying their best to help you.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, and yes, sometimes they are. People in the service industry are the ones who are like just the worst people ever. But blowing up at them won't help anything. I work at a pizza place, and we once had a guy come in just infuriated and raging because his breadsticks didn't have the dip in them. And he comes in and slams down his breadsticks, and he's like, I want my bread. I want the dip for my breadsticks. And he's shouting and yelling, and the owner of the store is like, stop yelling at the 16-year-old at the till. We're getting you your dip. Chill out. And I'm like, yeah, chill out. It's breadsticks, dude.
It's like, please shut up. I
mean, one thing I wanted to say, it's very funny. You described the person as a candy ass. that is a word that I want to explain. Is so funny when you compare it to like synonyms. Becomes a sweet butt.
Yes.
So you could call someone a candy ass, but if you call someone a sweet butt, all of a sudden you're a weirdo.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just how it sounds.
Yeah. And he was accused of calling people. That was like Dwayne the Rock Johnson, who's a candy ass. Yeah, I could like to imagine him being like, "Well, you're a sweet butt." Sorry, wait, what did you say? You're sweet butt.
The thing is, I have a given the right circumstances, he actually might do that.
The synonym game is a fun thing to play where you can take a sentence that's like normal and turn it into something that's just like weird. Like it's the difference between a cabin in the woods and a cottage in the forest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, cabin in the woods sounds creepy.
Yeah.
And cottage in the forest sounds pleasant.
Yeah, it's the difference between calling someone father and calling someone daddy.
Yes, there's
a connotation difference there.
I know.
But the funny thing is that it switches, because if a 5-year-old calls someone father, you're like, this is kind of weird. You're being very formal for a 5-year-old. However, like if they called him daddy, you'd be like, that's cool. Now if a 25-year-old was like father, you'd be like, all right, that seems about right. I mean, you're a little once in a little bit.
Dad. I mean, that's fine.
But if they called him daddy, you'd be like, I hope that's not your father.
I actually at that point I'm not sure either way that's good. I'm not sure. It's like I'm not sure this is healthy anyway. I look at this right now.
I saw this thing online where someone was doing some of the synonym switches, and I think they switched from. They said there's a large difference between forgive me, Father, I have sinned, and I'm sorry, Daddy, I've been bad. Same thing, different thing. Same thing, very different thing.
Yeah. No, the connotation, the phonetic things, just there's implications. The nuances are very, very different.
The point I'm getting to is words are fun.
Words are fun, and nuance is everything. Is actually is the other thing. Something I've learned in the last years in my writing is it's the nuances that make or break your writing.
Yeah.
All right, and that's a lot what editors and publishers and agents are kind of looking for is how nuanced are you? How good are you at subtext?
Yeah, and I mean in a less like I guess comedic way, is the difference between calling something a hound, a dog, a mutt, or like a pooch. Like those all are referring to the same thing, but you get a different connotation every single time you use the word. It's something that I think is really, really interesting, like word choice. Specifically being like, oh, these are all synonyms. You could pick any one technically. It's like when you see a bad writer who clearly has a thesaurus, who's like, excellent, I will take every word and pick a fancier version of that word. It's like, all right, settle down. We get it. You know words.
Actually, that could be an awesome. It's just like a poem that you could just do RNG poems. Where you go into the thesaurus, you take a concept in the thesaurus, right? This word, I want you to write a poem about this word, and use the third word in each of the words you choose. Right? So you see these weird, like and it's called RNG poems. So.
Well, have you ever heard? I think it's like Botnik. Have you seen Botnik Studio stuff?
No, I haven't.
Okay, I'm pretty sure it's Botnik. They're on Twitter. They're the ones who did I know there's a few of them. I don't know which one you would have seen. They have done what they call the average or procedurally generated scripts. So they've done ones for Scrubs. They've done ones for Seinfeld. They've done a new chapter for Harry Potter. And essentially what they do is they take like the Harry Potter books, or they take a bunch of scripts from Seinfeld, or they take a bunch of like a bunch of things like that, and they put them into an algorithm, and then it allows them to generate the average version of that script. And they are bizarre and hilarious and ridiculous. And they have, you'll be very interested in this because I think you might do something with this. They have that algorithm like free to use. You can find it on a website. Nice. You could enter your own stuff. You could take like your Wandering God series, you put it in, and you could see what the average it could randomly generate.
Oh my gosh!
Now, don't get me wrong, they're not good, but they're great.
Yes. In the so bad it's good kind of way.
Yeah. Sometimes things are not good, but they are great, and I think we should celebrate the things that are not good but are great.
Those especially when they're honest about it.
Yeah,
that's saying.
Oh no, that's exactly it. Like we sort of get this thing now where we get people talking about, the B movies, which are B movies on purpose. This may be, I guess, a hot take. I hate Sharknado. I've never even seen Sharknado. I hate the concept of it.
No, I hate. Well, here's a B movie I really dig.
Yeah.
I love Black Dynamite. And then because it's deliberately bad. It is.
Well, it's weird because it's not that it's deliberately bad. It's a send-up of blaxploitation movies, which were bad because they were bad. So by replicating like that thing, it's.
But it's also deliberate things like the deliberate mic drop.
Yeah.
And when you see the actors just trying to keep a straight face.
Yeah.
Hey, we're in this role. Thunk. You're ruining the illusion. I'm like, okay, I'm in. I mean, and then the over the top like endings and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's like, this is so bad.
I sort of mean like more of the difference between like what is it? Sharknado and what is it? Lavlantula, the one where it's like the spiders were lava. Those ones which are like, here's these cheesy B movie things, and there's like 6 Sharknadoes, I hate it so much. Versus something like The Room, which is a real bad movie, but it's enjoyable to watch because you can see the heart. The people who were making that movie desperately thought they were making a good movie.
Well, yeah, but it's on. There's a certain like Sharknado feels very manufactured. And that's the big difference.
The what bugs me so much about Sharknado is that it's the entire movie is all these like people being like, get it? Do you get it? Tell me. They're sitting beside you, poking you in the thigh, being like, do you get the joke? Do you get it? It's bad on purpose, so we don't have to try. And I'm like, cool.
Going back to like the show and tell thing we were talking about, nuance and stuff like that, right? So a movie sometimes like you can enjoy a movie. It's bad. It's trying to be good. Their whole hiring, because sometimes it's not their fault. Sometimes it's effects. Sometimes it's budget. Sometimes it's just bad because like Highlander Endgame's a bad movie.
Highlander Endgame was a bad idea. I'm gonna stand by that.
No, that's fair. I'm just like. I like the idea of doing like a Duncan MacLeod movie. I thought that would be actually a cool, not that movie. Or Highlander the Source is another one. It's a really bad movie.
I don't know why they kept doing Highlander.
Because Highlander 1 is awesome.
One of them was good, and they're like, we keep trying, we'll do it again. And like, no, just.
It's also because the series is actually decent. It's not. There are some bad episodes.
Highlander the movie, the series.
The Highlander movie and then Highlander the series. They're decent. Like the series actually has some really, really good episodes, some awesome concepts. Sometimes some really bad concepts too.
Usually I don't like when movies get translated into TV series, because a lot of the times the movies that they pick to do that with weren't made to stand beyond their 2-hour timeline.
Yeah.
One of the ones that actually, I guess if I'm just hyping things up and telling people to watch things, is one that was good is the Lethal Weapon TV series.
I always thought it had those kind of like, to be perfectly honest with you, partly because the chemistry Gibson and
what I think was really Riggs and Murtaugh. The part of the thing that made the TV series like I think so good is that they took concepts that were brought up in the movie but weren't fully explored and just went like hardcore deep into them.
Well, yeah, but there's also like there was a surprising bit of depth in the movies, right?
Yeah.
They're not. I mean, you go too deep, it's a bit of a glass cannon. But there is stuff you can do with this series if there was ever a chance to go into an actual show. So it doesn't make sense. Like I said, Gibson and Glover had great chemistry too. So you could say a buddy cop series could, in theory, with those two characters, could in theory be very good. Yeah. Right?
But they did a good job of taking I want to say it's Riggs. Riggs was Mel Gibson's character. Yeah?
Yes.
They did a good job of taking Riggs' character and in the TV series, doing like delving more into, rather than him just being like, oh, he's crazy. They're like, and also he's very depressed.
Yes.
And they did a good it was a cool character thing, and I just put it up essentially being like, I need some background sound while I'm cleaning, and I'm like, oh, this is good.
No, no.
At least I enjoyed it.
No. It's a solid series. They are replacing the actor because from going back to what we were talking about, good actors and bad actors. He was one of those. You need to like you're good, but you're not good enough for us to keep you kind of deal.
Yeah.
But it is what it is as far as that goes. But we'll see how the next season plays out. But as far as like there is such a thing as we're talking about B movies. Like, there are great B movies. Like They Live is my all-time favorite B movie.
Yeah.
Right. It's a good movie, start to finish. That did way better than it did.
Yeah.
And then there's the B movies that are bad. Like I can never remember the first Ash movie, Evil Dead. Yeah. It's not a great movie, but it's solid. And then there's the fun stuff.
With Evil Dead 2.
Yeah. Then there's the fun stuff. And then there's Army of Darkness, right?
Which is like, it's funny watching that series of movies, and it just gets like more and more silly. You see Sam Raimi become Sam Raimi.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because he found his voice, and when he found his voice, and Bruce Campbell, found his niche too. Like Bruce Campbell is an excellent example of the ultimate niche actor.
Yeah.
He knows who he is on the screen. He goes and he plays up to the hilt.
He was really good in Burn Notice.
Yeah.
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 Just wanted to throw that in there.
No.
Burn Notice is good.
Yeah. But and then there's that, and then there's like movies that try to be good and that are just bad. Then there's a certain joy in that, in a little bit, because it does take a lot of guts to make a movie.
Yeah, and it's something that like it's a weird thing to say that like it's when you try in a movie like and you give it your all and it turns out bad, I actually still enjoy watching that movie.
Oh, yeah.
I don't much like a lot of the there's a lot of the fans around the room who I feel like everything they do feels too ironic. Like, Tommy Wiseau gets invited to these screenings because now he's like, oh no, it was meant to be a comedy. And I'm like, no, it wasn't. Settle down, Tommy Wiseau, if that's your real name, and face and voice. And they're also the ones who are like, they do all these crazy things because they they love it so much, but it all feels like weird, ironically, like one thing as I was saying, someone sitting beside you poking you in the thigh, being like, do you get it? Do you get it? It's funny because it's bad. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. Please stop touching me.
Yeah, please stop touching me. Yeah.
Who are you? Why are you in my house?
Yes.
You aren't allowed in here.
You made me come down here to do a podcast interview. Wait,
right.
Yeah.
You're still here?
Yes.
Oh.
So let's see, where am I supposed to go from here after that?
I don't know.
Maybe.
I know, come on, man, throw something.
I'm just like, well, so now people think I'm here against my will. This is.
Can't prove it otherwise.
I know. Can't do that now.
No, actually, let's delve into that role play for a second there, because it's not that you're there against your will. You never left is the concept.
Yeah, exactly.
You didn't leave, and I don't really want you here, and you don't really want to be here, but none of us want to talk about it.
Exactly.
That's called explaining the joke.
Yes, which is bad.
Oh,
and if it's deliberately done as on purpose, it can be really good.
Man, so many people. I for a while, because another thing I did is I did stand-up comedy, because I was very interested in comedy.
Yeah.
And I've a lot of when I write stage plays as well. I tend to write comedy stage plays. For some reason I just like them being funny. Some of my other stuff isn't always comedy based. It's always, I feel like, or had described to me, has some sort of whimsy in it, just because that's who I am as a human being.
Yeah.
And that's how I interact with the world, is a little bit more lightheartedness. But when I was writing a lot of comedy and I was doing something I spent a lot of time doing really weird scientific in-depth dives into what is funny, And let me tell you something, nobody wants to hear you describe why something is funny, despite the fact that I think it's very interesting to know why something is funny.
Well, it's interesting to explore it when you're legitimately curious.
Yeah, exactly.
When you just want to enjoy the joke, just don't ruin the magic. Stay in the corner.
That's fair. If you're at a comedy show and someone tells a joke, you don't want the person in front of you turning around and being like, well, but did you really get the joke?
And at that point, it's like, do you really want this bottle cap in your eye?
Are you talking to me? Watch the show. Well, no, hang on. I want to make sure you understand why it's funny.
And then at that point, it's like, see this bottle? It's going to go somewhere. Are you threatening me? Yes, I am. Go back to the show.
I could be doing that the entire show. Yeah.
That would be a very weird comedy show for comedians. Just sitting there watching one guy threaten another with a bottle, and then the other guy trying to explain his jokes. I think at some point the comedian is like, "What, are you guys trying to take over my show?"
Hold on, I think an impromptu sketch comedy troupe has just entered my audience.
Yeah.
Now they're doing their own thing.
Exactly. I don't know. And then at that point, the comedian has two choices. He can either shut it down, or he can join in.
Has there ever been like parody-wise or like anything like that? You know how in Scott Pilgrim vs. the World there's the amp versus amp contest?
Yeah, that thing's awesome.
Yeah, imagine that except for it's comedians. So it's like two stages, them facing each other, and them each just shouting jokes, I guess, for the audience to turn and look at them.
It'd be like an improv battle. It's like it'd be almost like a rap battle, except it'd be an improv battle of funny. You can actually keep the joke going.
And it doesn't have to relate to the other person at all.
Oh, no, but who can keep the joke going? Bonus points if you can play off the other person. Because that shows you're quick-witted and funny. Right?
When you say keeping the joke going, I know we were talking about amp versus amp comedy. That makes it more sound like Wipeout stand-up comedy, where it's like, well, you got to run this obstacle course, but also keep the joke going. You got a tight 5-minute set. It should take you about 5 minutes to get through this course. Don't get tripped up on the big balls.
That's right. Let me tell you about this smack.
And just knocked out. Like, oh, well, he made good time, but he did not tell one joke because he had a concussion.
That's right. He is currently in a coma. Thank him for playing. And he comes out, and then you see him just drooling on his way, just leading that away.
I've always I kind of like Wipeout in those sort of competitions where it's like it's very I guess sociopathic to be like, look at those people get hurt. I'm sitting here eating Cheetos. How great for me. Those shows would be a lot worse if they exchange every single time, because every time they get hit, they put in this funny sound effect like boing, whoa, and things like that. Can you imagine when they got hit, it was just like, they're like, these edited worse sound effects.
It was terrible sound effects. So basically now your audience went from laughing to uncomfortable to thinking someone died. So, so suddenly we have turned this into a really bad professional wrestling match. It's like, because we're talking about like stages, like professional wrestling is a stage thing. But
I don't watch a whole lot of professional wrestling anymore. I watch a little bit. I love the concept of it though.
Oh, I do too, and I still like going to the live shows. I have a buddy who's a pro wrestler, and one thing I realized about the language there is sound. Yeah, that's what it is. It's all about sounds, and it's the sound of a body in the buckle, body in the ropes, sounds to the mat. If the wrestler's really good, how much pain he's willing to put himself through to sound like, right? Does it feel real? There's a legitimate beat to that.
I mean, professional wrestling is a cool way of doing it because usually it's live, so they have to make the sound like they have to make it happen there. But sound is so important in like any sort of like form of media. We're talking about movies and TV shows. If you're taking out like the Foley artists and people who are doing like the sound for that, the shows get worse because you can make moments that would normally be like either silly or would make, especially with a lot of fighting. They sort of proven that by putting in a sound effect of a hit, even if the punch doesn't look great, it tricks the brain into thinking it was like a better punch than it was.
Yes.
Like if you've ever watched like a fight scene, especially in like a bad movie with the sound off, it looks worse.
Yeah. Oh no, even in good movies. With good
Sorry,
movies.
yeah. Even like a good movie.
Well, if you watch some of the, like Rocky, for example, you watch the early, like the first two movies where before all the fight choreography was truly perfected. The sounds really cover up for some of the facts that sometimes they're not hitting each other at all.
Well, they shouldn't be hitting each other.
No,
but like it's obvious.
Yeah, it's obvious, and I mean. It's good to have a little contact because again, it also helps the actor. They can bounce off it, they can kind of feed off it, whatever, right?
Yeah.
There's a little bit. Now I'm not talking like a full fist.
I've done some stage fight training, and like so it's a little bit different actually for stage versus a movie or a TV show, because for a stage you're doing that show like once, like every single night, so you don't want someone to actually get like slapped or hit anything like that.
Yeah.
So you find more ways to get around it. Movies, usually if someone's getting slapped in a movie, they just slap them.
Yes.
Which is kind of funny to imagine that like in a movie, if someone's getting slapped, that person's really getting slapped. You can see in the behind the scenes thing, like that person is getting slapped. And they have a different way of doing like the fights. Like if you're hitting someone in the stomach in a movie, usually you're more willing to give, you don't actually want to punch them, but you sort of do this thing where like the person who's getting hit in any sort of stage fighting combat, they're in control of the fight scene. So like if you're coming in with like a punch, essentially they will like almost grab your fist and pull it into their stomach so that they're in control. And that's sort of how you do fight scenes. It's like counterintuitive. The person who's getting hit is the one who's in charge of the fight scene.
Yeah, which makes sense because they're the ones at risk.
Yeah. There's actually a lot of cool stuff when you get into like the art of showing combat on screen, especially when you like show the difference between because Hong Kong cinema, they have obviously have a lot of fight scenes going on in that. If you compare that to like Western cinema, especially like this is the cool thing I really found out is where the edit happens. So on a lot of Western cinema movies, the edit happens on the punch. Someone hits someone, you cut to a different angle, and that's how you do impact. But the way that a lot of like Hong Kong cinema did it is they actually show the punch twice. So the punch goes through, then there's an edit, and then you see the punch again from the second angle. It's so fast that the audience who's watching it doesn't notice, but it makes the hit look so much harder.
Yeah, it makes it more devastating because it's almost like you're overwhelmed. But it's like you're getting the hit, and almost like you're seeing like the reaction at the same time.
You see the full hit. In a lot of Western movies, you don't see the full hit. You're actually cutting and you're missing the hit, which is why like a lot of it's not that like the impacts are less like forceful on Western movies, but they are different. They feel different seeing like here's this wushu flick, and here's this here's the Jason Bourne movies. Yeah, Jason Bourne's actually a bad example. They do some pretty good job with their fight scenes in earlier ones.
Well, no, Jason Bourne it set a really cool trend. And unfortunately, everybody missed it. It's like there's a really cool tool. And I literally just had a conversation literally about this.
Yeah, about the shaky cam.
Yeah. The shaky cam in Bourne makes sense. It fits his MO.
Yeah. Paul Greengrass is at it. Yeah. And he knows how to do shaky cam. Like if you watch his shaky cam, he actually is keeping. He uses the shake like the camera. He knows when to stop. He knows when to move. And he's keeping you focused on the action. Yeah.
Actually, the center, and we just had this. I had to stop. The center shot is always where the action is. Yes. It's always in the middle. Whereas, I hit the first Batman movie. Batman Begins. Yeah. The shaky cam there covers up for the fact there isn't really a lot of good fight scenes in that movie.
Well, because Christian Bale can't move in that suit. There's a lot of just like him swinging his entire body.
Yeah, exactly. That suit doesn't move, and also just outside I think maybe one or two fights with Ra's al Ghul. Yeah. Right. There is no real fight scenes in that movie, and the shaky cam is covering that up. And it's unfortunate because, Batman should be a little scary with how he fights. Yeah. He should fight because that's his, MO. Yeah. But there's also that when you do see him fight, it should be very down, very dirty, very, very, very visceral.
The problem with a lot of the use of shaky cam in a lot of movies is that it's used is used for the effect rather than for the purpose. Like, it is a tool that can be used well, it can be used poorly. I think one of the worst uses of shaky cam I've seen in a movie was in the first Hitman movie, the one with Timothy Olyphant.
Yeah.
There's one fight scene in I think like a subway car, and it's 4 bald men in suits just like fighting each other and wearing identical suits. They're all bald men. One of them is black, so I started rooting for him because he's the only person I could see out of the group. Because the rest, this were just like 3 bald white dudes, and I'm like, I don't know who's who.
Nondescript, like Larry, Curly, Moe, and I'm working for you.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know what's happening. I don't know who's winning, and then the fight ended, and I'm like, did Hitman win? I don't know. I guess he's the one who's still alive. I assume. Once again, they're all just bald dudes and
you're looking at this and saying to yourself, I had zero fucks to give going into this fight.
Yeah.
And I still don't care now that it's over.
It's the sort of thing that there's some cool moment, like right before the fight started. There's like this cool moment where there's the 4 of them and they're all dressed very similarly and they all have these like weird short swords that they have because that movie's bad.
Second movie's actually okay, but anyway.
The second movie was fine.
Yeah.
But they come in and it's cool kind of seeing that they all look the same because it's sort of this visual vocabulary. These are the same people.
Yeah. It's a manufactured killer, which is exactly what that was the right idea.
But then they shot it in a way that makes it unreadable. Like I don't know. I'm not a cinematographer myself. I do not know how I would have shot that to make it readable. I probably just wouldn't have.
Either wouldn't have, or the only other thing you could have done is have a point of view character. Instead of actually doing a shaky cam, have a point of view character. It wouldn't be great.
I would have done something that would have marked the main character as different from the others. Yeah. Whether his suit is torn, or he has something.
Or a different colored suit, even.
Yeah.
Something as simple as that.
Yeah, you're like, that's clearly the other guy. Instead, I was just like, I don't know who's who. Is the good guy winning? Is the good guy losing?
Do you care?
Yeah. Well, that's sort of the thing is like, no matter how much you care, at a certain point, you're just going to be like, all right, I'm just going to sit back and wait for this to end.
Yeah, but that's my point. Like, when you do that in a movie, it's bad because you lost the whole idea. Like, even like a book, in a book. Yeah. If I'm in an experience reading a book, or I'm in an experience writing a book, right? I want to feel that experience. If I'm doing anything that takes the reader out of that, I've screwed up. And for now, I'll stop right there. Part 2 will be up very, very shortly. Thank you, Kevin, for coming on my show. Check out Endless Hunger. Go to the Edge Science Fiction and Fantasy. Check them out. Buy the book. Give nice reviews to Mr. Kevin. He deserves them. And that will do it for another episode of Just Joshing. So, go outside my normal plugs. The Canadian Science Fiction and Fantasy Association has got a $10 drive to join their membership. You can do so. You can vote on the Aurora package, which includes my podcast, which is an Aurora finalist, as well as works from friends like Claire Marshall, Samantha Bako, Gerald Brandt, Susie Vidori, Jane Bernard, Hayden Trenholm, Liz Trenholm, F. Lee Patrick, and many, many more. And trust me when I tell you that $10 is more than covers the material here you're going to get. As for the podcast itself, there's a number of things you can do. You can subscribe to the podcast. I'm on iTunes, Podomac, wherever my podcast connects. I'm apparently on Player FM. I did not know that. That's cool. But yeah, you can subscribe to the podcast however you want to subscribe to it. That'd be great. My YouTube channel is Joshua Pantelleresco. Episodes will be coming shortly. My books, The Watcher, Storm Dancer, Wandering God, are available at mirrorworldpublishing.com or anywhere else like Kobo, Amazon, anywhere else that you can find books, you can find mine. Beyond all that, stay inspired out there and don't do anything I wouldn't do or don't get caught. All right, see you in part 2 in a couple days.
Josh.